welcome everybody to what I feel is a really special No Wrong Path interview. So I'm really delighted that Charlotte has agreed to do these with me. So this is part one of two parts. If anybody caught the introduction, I wanted to showcase two people who did the same job or do the same job now and what their career paths were like, to showcase that there really truly is no wrong path. And you know, we are cliche words, but we're on career journeys, and they're not straight, so we can deviate, and sometimes we get to the same place from two very different starting points. So today,
here it
goes. Charlotte, would you like to introduce yourself of what you do today?
Yes, thank you very much. So my name's Charlotte Sykes. I run a business called CWR, which is Career Workshops and Recruitment. We're based just outside of Toaster. We've been going for 10 years and we support the local community with coaching work, training work and recruitment services. So whether that's individuals, schools, businesses, you name it. So that is us.
Brilliant.
That is me, because obviously they're one and the same.
They're one and the same. And we're in if we just sort of recap of where we are at the moment, we are currently in August. I can't even think what the date is. Is it the 13th of August?
13th of August.
13th of August. It's A-level results day as well today. But also this is the first time that Charlotte and I have been in a room together since February. So we're getting used to doing interviews which are a little bit different. So if you see me looking at the camera looking at Charlotte, sometimes it's a bit different than the Zoom interviews that I normally do. So maybe bear with me a little bit. So let's go right back to early days and school.
Yep.
So how was school for you?
Yep.
What was the experience like? And did you know what you wanted to do when you left school?
Interesting. So I went away to boarding school. So I was sent away. I went to prep school in Cambridge, where we were living at the time, and then I was sent away to school, actually, funny enough, in Northamptonshire here, where I now live and work and have my family. School, I did enjoy school. It was being sent away to school. It's a community. It's not always fun all the time. It's pretty tough when you first start out. When you're away, you're 13. You're put with a bunch of girls at that age, or girls at any age. When you're all together, it's tough. There's a pecking order you have to learn. There's mannerisms, behaviours. There's so much stuff you have to learn, and then you have to think about going to school, you have to think about your social groups, you have to think about being away from home. But on the whole, I did enjoy it. And I think I'd grown up around the world, or grown up in America, and I'd spent some time in Europe, just holidays as a child. And for me, it was a good 5-year period of consistency.
Okay.
I was with the same people all the time, in the same environment. And I'm a creature of habit, and I enjoyed that.
Did you know you were a creature of habit before? Because I think reflection, obviously, Charlotte and I do careers coaching.
She's going to coach me, folks.
Unfortunately,
I know what she's doing.
But unfortunately, you end up doing a lot of as coaches, you do a lot of self-reflection.
Yep.
So, do you think that you realise that's who you were when you were younger, or is that you self-reflecting to think, I now know I like routine? Did you know that?
No, I knew. I've always known that.
Yeah.
I like comfort. I like consistency. I like to know where I stand.
Yeah.
And I think having that parameter allows me to achieve.
Yeah.
I like to be an achiever. I like to get stuff done.
Yeah.
But there's certain things I need around me.
Yeah.
To allow me to do that.
Yeah.
So I did know that as a youngster, and I think one of the advantages of being sent away from school is I threw myself into everything: art club, drama club, music, masses of sport. I played sport whenever I could. So life was full, and life was full on all the time. And I remember my mum, my mum used to say, come back, and I'd sleep. So they'd pick me up on the Saturday, and I'd sleep until Monday morning to get back onto an even keel. I did. So your second question was, did I know what I wanted to do? No.
Okay.
I love lots of things.
Okay.
And I think that's challenging. If you've got lots of interests, it's quite hard to find your direction.
Yeah.
It's like shopping when you're hungry. How do you pick what you want?
Gosh, you just
Nightmare.
go for everything, don't you?
Exactly.
Well, I do anyway.
But I am. Naturally, I'm quite creative. I've always loved art. I've always loved languages. So I went to university to do French. I did French and Spanish, but I specialised on French art and history, which I absolutely loved because then I was able to use my language skills with a subject that I really enjoyed. If I reflect on that now, would I have gone to university to go away to study it? I probably should have just gone to France for a few years, because my aim when I wanted to leave university is I wanted to be fluent. I was like, I want to be fluent in French and Spanish. And I speak a bit of German too, but it's really rusty these days, which is really depressing. But from a cost point of view, from a direction point of view, it potentially would have been better to move to France and work in those creative industries to then pick up the language skill and potentially open a network there. That's something I've always wondered.
Was that opportunity there for you to do that, or was just not an option?
I think it probably could have been an option, but it wasn't really presented as an option.
Okay.
And I think when you're young, you don't ask those questions because you don't know what questions to ask yet. And I think our responsibility, particularly in the work you and I do, is to present those questions to people, to open their viewpoint up to things that they might not think. I'm from a very traditional family where everybody goes, you just go to university, it's a given. God, I went up north to go to university, and from a family of people who normally went to university down south, so it was quite a rarity to go probably north of Oxford.
Yeah.
Yeah, I probably could have said, actually, I'm not sure I want to go to university, but I didn't, because it wasn't really something that was presented as a possibility. Yeah.
We also have to apologise for the thunder and lightning that you could be hearing. You probably can't hear it, but currently we have the storm after all of the heat that we've been used to, so we are very real today.
We are very real, and we're also very excited because there's no watering of gardens.
No, that's it. So coming back to you've left university and your career then, so we could talk for hours, and I think there's going to be different sections that we do, but for our snippet for today, your career then from leaving university and up to today, I'm really keen to understand maybe some key moments in your career, but also I think people that influence us are really key in our lives. And wondered if there was people when you've been at work or externally that have influenced you. And is there any key moments in your career that got you to where you are today?
Right. So when I left university, I went straight down to London. It was just what I wanted to do. I followed the crowd. Again, I'm probably not questioning the possibilities. I just sort of went with what I presumed I should do. And I went to a language speaking recruitment firm and said, here I am, I'm English, I speak 3 European languages, what can I do? I'd really like to use them. And the course I'd done at university, I was absolutely thrilled with, because lots of the people on my course were native French speakers, native Spanish speakers. So I have a family that enjoy that multicultural kind of melting pot environment anyway. So I was really lucky to go and work for a recruitment firm. So I went to this recruitment firm to talk to them about a job, because I said, I want to go and use my languages, what can I do? And classically they said, come and work for us. So ta-da, we all do it.
A lot.
And actually the environment wasn't the right home for me. I'm not a sales junkie. But what I learned from that business is I loved matching the cultures, I loved matching the personalities. I learned that within big corporates there are different personalities that are required for different departments, and I loved seeing that jigsaw come together. So that really influenced me, even though the business was not the right home for me. So I was then asked to go and join a business in South Kensington, and I worked for a woman who's a very formidable recruiter. She is a very capable person at just that, the facilitator, the introducer. You ought to meet so-and-so, you need to meet so-and-so, and recognising that all the people we know in our network are key to our career success. And she's someone I still do a lot of work with. She's been a fantastic mentor for me. She's run a very, very successful business.
And knowing you as I do, that now makes sense, because you are the networker, and you like being in communities, don't you? And connecting
absolutely.
people. It's obvious that you love being with people and hearing their stories and seeing where they can be matched with other people so that they can reach their potential.
Yeah, and just saying, actually, don't talk to them about a job, but talk to them because they're going to be a really key person in your life. And that's my job, is to set those little bubbles and help create those bubbles around people. And that's how careers flourish, because you might meet somebody, and I might say to someone who's 15, listen, go and have a cup of tea with this person. You'll find them fascinating. They'll talk to you about their background. But 10 years later, it might be somebody who's really key to them. And I love when they ring up and they say, do you remember you put me in touch with that person? And that, to me, that's my job.
Yeah.
My job is to do that.
Yeah.
So you asked, what did you ask about? Highlights as well. What has been really good and how have I got to here? I've got to here because I now live and have my family and my wider family in a community that I love and I'm proud of being part of, and I wanted to be able to help our community here. Everybody knows everybody around here, but sometimes there's a little missing gap, and my job is to plug that little gap.
Yeah.
I have a, whether she'll be pleased that I'm talking about her or not, I have a very formidable mother-in-law and mother myself, who've always worked, who've always had children, who've been great role examples to me of how it is possible to do both.
Because it is a juggling act, isn't it?
It is a juggling act. That's why I look as wonderfully relaxed as I do. But they set the bar high for me, and it was, I want to learn, I want to get better, I want to improve, I want to add value, I want to achieve.
Yeah.
So I think that's probably why I work for myself. I've loved working for other people. I think it's been brilliant for me currently, and for me also for the last 10 years. And I think everybody goes, oh, you run a business and have your children. Yes, my business is me. I am the business, which is great because I get the flexibility that I don't have to ask anyone if I want to go and pick up the children or go to sports day. But I'm also there maybe on an evening or on a Saturday. So it is a juggle. But I love that. And I love the fact that I can go to the rugby on a Friday night for myself with my family. But I can also see people who I do business with. Yeah. So it molds into one.
Do you think, looking at what you do now, could you have ever visualised this is what your career and your working or your life would have been?
No idea, I don't think. I think I wanted to work in antiques.
Did you? I was going to say, was it antiques?
Antiques or art collection.
I was going to say very cultural.
My first ever job was working, and I was work experience job was working for somebody who travelled around the country to auction houses and bought paintings. And my job was to do the write-ups of these paintings and, touch up the gold on the side and put them on eBay. And we sold them for a fortune to people in America because they were like classic English countryside paintings.
Wow.
And I got the bug. I thought it was brilliant fun. I loved that world. But
interesting how things change. You're now in recruitment. Do you use your languages in your job at the moment?
Very rarely now, which is something that I'd like to do. I try a little bit with the kids. I try and literally tiny bit, only as they've got slightly bigger and I feel that I can. I've been loving video bombing their French lessons whilst we've been locked down and COVID, because I've had to join the Zoom meetings. I
was going to say, I'm not sure. I'm feeling a little bit sorry for their teachers, if I'm honest, because of the amount of experience that you'll have. Wow.
But that's something I'd love to do and I'd love to pick up. And I think all careers, you try and do as much, you try and bring in as many of your hobbies and as many of the things that we enjoy doing. Mm-hmm. But sometimes in Northamptonshire, there's not an enormous amount of need for it. So it's a case of me potentially doing it myself or creating places where I can use it.
So I think what's really interesting about Charlotte's story is, you've got that you were, boarding school, hadn't got a clue of what you wanted to do. Lots of activities. If you think about the cultural side of what Charlotte was really interested in, not going to France, but really enjoying her languages, and then just, as we would say in the industry, rocking up at a recruitment agency and ending up in recruitment, and no idea that's what your path was going to be, and that you would have your own business. Although you did obviously have referred to the influences of setting that bar really high, of working that career, business, family times. So 2020 is going to be, I think, a tough year for school leavers, whether they're leaving at A-level results or coming out of college or university graduates. what advice would you give to people to get on that ladder this year, in a challenging year, of how they can help themselves? Because they may be feeling, I don't have any experience. I don't. The path that I was going to take has suddenly gone away. I've heard a lot of graduates have had their internships taken away. There is still opportunities out there, but how do you get yourself?
Yeah, how do you pick yourself back up?
Yeah, and get yourself noticed, I suppose.
So without being too recruitery or coachy,
I think you can be.
You can be. Oh my God, how do I say it in one sentence? Stop, reflect, plan. If you need to financially bring some income in, just pick some pocket money work up to cover that gap, because that takes a little bit of the stress away. And I would sit back and try and think laterally. Yes, your grad scheme might have gone away, but what is as close to that as you can be? I'd say build your network, pick up the phone to people, because everybody has a bit more time at the moment to help. I think I would say be braver than normal and write to people on LinkedIn, ask people for help, because everybody has proven in the last few months, everybody's willing to help everybody more so than they've been for years. So in that sense, I'd probably say you've got it slightly easier with that element than people before.
Yes, because we're on a different hamster wheel. I think we're on a hamster wheel still, but we're on a very different hamster wheel. And I think going back to specifically what you've been talking about, community is very important to people. It has enabled the world to stop a little bit and to think about people as people. So use your community and reach out.
Yeah, exactly. And if you think, just to say, from my story point of view, there I was, I love languages, I love people and this and that and the other. And actually what I do now as my job allows me to do all of that. But I didn't know that until I'm here. Why do I love what I do? Because it's people, it's varied, it's interesting. Nobody's the same. I get to be as nosy as I like and be supportive as I like to people and see that change. So there are transferable options. There are different lateral paths to go down. And I think talk to people, ask for advice, ask for help, ask for support, because there's an enormous community of people willing to offer time and support to you. I'm not going to say it's going to be easy. For every generation, there are things that make it harder. Unfortunately, obviously, for those leaving now, this is a tricky, this is a tricky time of year, because obviously we've had the build-up and now here we are, A-level results day and whatever it is today. But likewise, you have a whole country going round to put stuff in place to support you. So please don't feel alone. There are people here to help. I'd say.
Use your local communities and your networks. On a separate issue, Charlotte and I host a weekly crowdcast. So jump on that. We've done, most of it has been remote. We've not been, as we said, not been in the same room together. So this is lovely that we do that, but it's half an hour whirlwind tours on anything about managing your well-being while you're job seeking, looking at your CV, how to get your message across, online networking, even networking when we get back to being able to do something a little bit more in person. So that's Crowdcast and that's Be Career Confident, the project that Charlotte and I work on. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. So you have seen somebody's journey now who has got to be an MD and a founding director of a recruitment and careers coaching business, and that's come at it from an angle of somebody who went to university and did languages. So coming up next, it's my turn.
Part 2.